So I don't know why I haven't talked about this yet, but thought I'd just bring it up now. Went to see Weezer a few weeks ago. They're doing this tour called the Voyage to the Blue Planet Tour, which is dedicated to this album, 30th anniversary of this debut record. I was supposed to go with two other friends. They had to back out for different reasons, legitimate reasons. So last minute, I was like, okay, I'll take Sam, my son, and I'll take, and see if my brother wants to meet us or something. Yeah, so we did it. 3 of us went to see him, and it was excellent. It was fantastic. Of course, they played again this in its entirety, which was the whole reason why I wanted to go. They did have Flaming Lips and Dinosaur Jr. open for them. Because Sam is 8 years old, I didn't think he could sit through 4 hours of concert. Dinosaur Jr. played like a 20-minute set anyway. I've seen them in a club, didn't need it. Flaming Lips, I've never seen. I'm not as huge of a fan of them as I once was. So yeah, I don't know. The stage show was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was otherworldly. And I'll include some clips, but they really went all out on this space voyage theme, and it was fantastic. The first part of the set was more recent Weezer, basically anything like a collection of songs from anything after the first 2 records, including some of the hits off of this one, the Green Album. A lot of controversy when this record came out. I think a lot of people were expecting more of Pinkerton, which I'll talk about in a second. They didn't get that. Instead, it became even simpler, punchier, more kind of driven in a hard rock direction. And then you also get the MSTK 3000 crew down there in the corner in the crowd. I loved this record when it came out. I thought it was great. Do I listen to it as much now? No. This copy actually lives up in Sam's room. The other night, he got a little in his feels with his mom, and the next thing you knew, he was blasting this record from his bedroom in a little bit of rock and roll rebellion moment. I've since purchased him a copy of Highway to Hell by AC/DC, and that would work much better than this, I think. You would all agree. Right after that, in the middle section, was basically a dedication to Pinkerton. So really great to get that, because Pinkerton was a great record. Came out in 1996. I think I remember Rivers Cuomo saying that this was what they really thought they would sound like compared to the Blue Album, I guess. And I don't know if that was just like an attempt to kind of get back some indie cred or something after the just incredible popularity of their debut album. But again, this was what I was there for. An absolute classic for people my age, or around my age. If you were, I'd say anywhere from the ages of like 12 to 17 in 1994, you probably have some kind of affinity for this record. I remember seeing Undone the Sweater Song, the video for that, debut on 120 Minutes, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It was absolutely outstanding, because it had the sound of all the alt rock that I was listening to at the time, but it also had this kind of sense of humor to it. We could give 2 shits kind of attitude, but without being like uber punk about it or anything, you know. And then of course this was the one Weezer record that we had for a while, you know, and then it just kind of stuck with us. I mean, I remember it still being relevant for us in college. Albums sometimes had a longer lifespan back then, I think, in the 90s. The way we consume music now, you just don't get that as much. Believe it or not, it was actually my first time ever seeing Weezer. I had multiple opportunities over the years, so it was great to see them, and good for all the nostalgic feels, right? It was a really fun show, a really, really fun show.
entering atmosphere.
They're in fucking Star Trek.
I don't know why I'm doing this. But let's do a contest. just for the hell of it. You don't have to sub. You don't even have to like the video. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is in the description, I'm putting a list of 10 artists, bands, solo artists, whatever. I have seen 7 of those 10 artists live. So what I want you to do is, out of the 10 that I've listed, I want you to list in the comment section the 3 that are lies. The 3 that are lies. My buddy Logan recently did this in an Instagram story, and I thought it was pretty fun. He did like a list of 20. I'm not doing that many. And whoever gets it right gets $50. If there's a tie, I guess that could happen. I'm just gonna like somehow randomly pick the winner. Maybe I'll have like one of my kids decide or something. Name the 3 artists that I'm lying about out of the list of 10 that I've seen live, that I've seen in concert. I don't know if there's another way that I can say that. $50. We'll figure out a method. I'll leave the method up to the winner. Is there a deadline? Yeah. The deadline is October 31st.
We see red, yellow, blue, not maroon. We see red, yellow,
Do you have a band that you absolutely love that kind of gets like mixed reviews critically? Maybe doesn't have like a really large, avid fan base. And you even maybe admit that from album to album, there are issues, on those albums. So you can't really say that they're great albums, but there's still just something about that band that you absolutely love. Does that make any sense? It's kind of hard to frame, but I think of the band Wye Oak. Wye Oak is a band that I got into around 2008, 2009. It's the project of Jen Wassner and Andy Stack. They formed in Baltimore, Maryland. Their first initial albums kind of had this real mix of dream pop, slowcore, distorted, kind of heavy guitars that didn't get quite shoegazy, but maybe reminded you of kind of like sludgier moments of Sonic Youth, or you combine all of those sounds and you kind of have this very 90s leaning kind of sound. Their first album, and where I got introduced to them, was this, If Children. I can't remember if it was self-released or if it was a smaller imprint, but they were eventually signed to Merge, and then Merge would eventually put it out on CD. This is a later reissue, 2022 RSD reissue. Very much more in the kind of like dream pop kind of realm of things, but again, at times gets kind of distorted and heavy. Jen Wassner sings most of the tracks on here in lead vocals, but Andy Stack provides lead on 2 tracks, and then there's like songs where they just sing in unison. And it's a really outstanding sound. This is The Knot. It came out on Merge Records. I would say this one leans a little bit more slowcore. It's a little bit more mid to just slower tempo as a whole. There's some songs like For Prayer, which is the second track, that's really, really getting into that kind of Neil Young, Crazy Horse kind of distorted sound. There's even a little bit of pedal steel in there. So there's maybe a little bit of an Americana alt country kind of vibe in that song. So there's a rootsiness there, a more organic kind of soul that exists in their music. Jen Wassner's really pushed to the forefront on this record. Her vocals are amazing. They're just so beautiful. And she has quite a range, like a really huge range, like a Sharon Van Etten type range. So on the heels of these 2 albums, I saw Wye Oak perform at Merge 20. Like Merge started hosting these anniversary festivals. I believe the first one was the 15th. They would host a lot of bands at Cat's Cradle, and then they would do a closing day show like at a larger venue somewhere that could hold more people. For Merge 20, they held it at Memorial Hall on the campus of UNC, and Wye Oak played along with American Music Club, and then She and Him, who was huge at the time, was kind of like the big headliner for that day. But Wye Oak stole the show, in my opinion. And I mentioned that there were only 2 people, and when they played live back then, they were only 2 people. And Andy Stack does amazing things while playing drums. And they were almost a spectacle to behold, because it's just 2 people. And yes, there have been a lot of duos, right? These guys were not your normal guitar drum duo. They didn't sacrifice anything. Their sound was just as huge live as it was on the record. And that's due to Andy Stack being such a talented multi-instrumentalist. What he could do on a drum kit while playing keyboards at the same time, absolutely outstanding. Even adding in like bass tones, filling in with organ, not gonna cut Jen Wassner short either. The layered effects that she builds with her guitar, with her pedal board, it's amazing. Just an incredibly full sound for 2 people. I saw them at a smaller club, Local 506, like a couple of years later. They were touring this record, Civilian. I think that this album is their crowning achievement. Really, really huge sound, and this is where the Neil Young and Crazy Horse sound almost kind of takes over. And live, also the distorted guitars get even more kind of pushed to shoegaze, but still has this real kind of rootsy quality to it.
It was madness seeking my story. We will be who we want to be. For the joys and secrets our hearts
point, I'm kind of all in on this band, flaws and all. I love those first 3 albums, even if they're not as critically lauded as I feel like they should be. And then 2014, they released Shriek, which was a bit of a conundrum for me. I didn't read any of the press leading up to it. What happened was they kind of ran into, I guess, a little bit of a creative block, a writer's block, if you will. And what they decided to do was drop the guitar altogether. I don't know if it was to kind of challenge themselves. They really laid into synthesizers and electronics, loops, and things like that. Drums still do exist on here. They just kind of sound more programmed. And Wasner plays bass guitar instead of just regular guitar.
From the thought of every morning until the heat of day is deep, I watch the clock as it turns backwards. I see the water run uphill.
So I guess after that exercise with Shriek, they kind of went back and looked at some of the work that they had done between Civilian and Shriek, and they revisited it, compiled it together on this album. They called it, fittingly, Tween. It sounds like this would have been kind of like the natural progression between. It just happened to be released after, in 2016. It's not as strong. It kind of sounds to me like Leftovers. It kind of sounds to me like a B-sides record. But the closer, Watching the Waiting, one of their best songs, in my opinion. And then their latest, their most current full-length release, proper studio LP from 2018, The Louder I Call, The Faster It Runs. And I think here you kind of get a culmination of everything that came before it, right? That distorted, kind of more rock-leaning guitar is back in full force, but then they've retained a lot of the things that they learned from experimenting with synthesizers and electronics, and it's got an amazing, just kind of like full flush sound.
So I take them all apart, and then I put them back. Sometimes it takes a long, long, long time. The louder I call, the faster it runs. The louder I call, the faster it runs.
What else do I have by them? I have this EP from 2010 called My Neighbor, My Creator. I also have this, which they put out last year, which is really, what they did was they released several singles digitally. I don't even think they got 7-inch treatment. And then what they decided to do is compile them all into this, I guess you'd call it an EP, collected singles from 2019 to 2023. So, I just wanted to talk about this band, Wye Oak. Any fans out there? Please let me know. Yeah, so I have lots of other videos that I want to do. I might do some lists. In fact, I will do some lists. How about that? My favorite albums of 1994, my favorite albums of 2004, my favorite albums of 2014. I've been thinking about doing like a list of my favorite alt country albums. I just can't decide how many. 100? 50? 100's too much. 50 maybe? My favorite 50 alt country records? How should I do that? Should I do all 50 in one video? It'd be a long video. Or should I break it up 10 by 10? But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk to you later on. All right, bye.
every day. Severely,
Digital gramophone makes no sense.